Call the meeting to order. We are the Graham Planning and Zoning Board, and we're here tonight to conduct the city's business. If you're here to speak tonight, you will be heard tonight just at the time that your particular item may come up. I'll call you to the front. Just please state your name and address for the record. All right, we'll do a roll call here. Mr. Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Huffine,
Here.
Mr. Benesh,
Here.
Chair Dean Ward's here, and Mr. Strick,
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. And if everyone would please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Did everybody have an opportunity to review last month's minutes? Any changes that need to be made? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? All right, Mr. Planner, if you would introduce yourself. There's some of the members here that might not know you. Ethan.
Absolutely. My name is Evan Workman. I'm one of the planners that works here with the city of Graham. Cameron is out of town this week, so I'm here with you guys. I appreciate you guys being here, and we'll get some of this business done and get everybody out of here.
Great, thank you. Okay, Mr. Planner, let's move on with 6A.
Yes, sir. So the text amendment, you guys heard last month as well, and it was tabled so that the police department could add anything that they thought might be helpful for the text amendment. I'll just review just in case, but we are looking to be directed by city council to put in a use for these vape, CBD, and tobacco stores that right now are just kind of general retail classifications that have no special restrictions or anything like that. The amendment will provide the definition, special use, and conditional rezoning requirements and other regulations in order to kind of regulate the use of these vape shops in town. What the police department added was that no tobacco shop shall be located in a half-mile radius of another tobacco hemp store, or they cannot be on the same property as, a strip mall may have two. That wouldn't be allowed. They also have to be 1,500 feet from one another and schools or daycare centers. And they're also 1 per 10,000 residents in the city of Graham. So they added that population condition. Staff believes most of these distance regulations are already addressed in the original text amendment that you guys heard last month, but other suggestions can be added as necessary. I will note that as of right now, the city of Graham has a population hovering probably around 20,000. So if the 1 per 10,000, it just isn't feasible because we already have more than 2 vape shops that are open right now. So you would pretty much put a freeze on any new vape shop, even if they meet all these conditions, until we only have 1 left or until our population increases to allow for more. And that's really all I have on the staff report side.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, I need to disclose on the tobacco side of things, my wife receives a pension from which I benefit from each month. And we also own stock in the tobacco company, which I get a dividend check quarterly. So I need to notify you of that and see if the board thinks there's a conflict of interest.
Do you feel you couldn't be impartial?
I can be impartial.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Stockard?
No, sir.
Does anybody see a reason that Mr. Stockard should recuse himself?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Is anyone here in the audience that wants to speak about this tonight? Okay. Open the public hearing. Please come on up and state your name and address.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Is that microphone cut on there?
I think it's on.
Okay, gotcha.
Good evening. I guess my name is Doug Coxon. I'm here representing myself and Incremental Planning and Environment, my planning company. My address is 5423 Guida Drive in Greensboro, 27410,
And spell your last name, please, sir.
Coxon.
Okay.
I was going to stop by tonight and just sit in the back row and just listen, but when I read the agenda and saw this issue about vape shops and separation, it intrigued me. I've done similar work before, developing an ordinance for a city in Washington State for adult land uses, which is a little bit more complicated because it involves First Amendment rights, which vape shops don't enjoy. However, I'm a little concerned, and just to put it very simply, as playing devil's advocate, please show me the map of all of the locations in the city of Graham city limits that are farther than 1,000 feet away from every other vape shop, and farther away than 1,000 feet from every school, and farther than 1,000 feet away from, I mean, I don't think there's any place left. And regardless of whether you have a population limit of 1 per 10,000 or not, you are in effect banning further vape shops from the city of Graham. And vape shops are a retail use that is allowed by state law. And you're setting yourself up for a challenge. I think you need to put together a report and listing all of the reasons why you think there should be a separation, or why the number of vape shops should be limited in the city of Graham, and showing that there are still places where the next vape shop can locate. And I was surprised that you brought me up already, because I thought you were going to be discussing this tonight. And I was going to be able to listen to all of your discussion, but maybe you had discussion last month and I missed it.
No, we'll have a discussion after the
Okay.
input from the audience.
All right. That's all I have to add. Thank you.
Anyone else here that'd like to speak? Okay, if not, I'm gonna close the public hearing and we'll have discussion amongst ourselves here. Evan, let's just go down on Highway 54. The closest, if we looked at a map today, the closest vape shop from Highway 54 would be the one sitting right across the street here from City Hall, I believe. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. I made notes of pretty much, there's 5 active locations right now that are, active vape shops.
Uh-huh.
I have those down as, there's one in the strip mall across the street. There's one that just opened in that bank in front of the strip mall across the street.
Mm-hmm.
There is 2 that are further down on South Main Street. One is in the Food Line parking lot area, over on those shops that kind of face the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is another one in the Mykonos, Niobe strip mall down there on South Main. So that totals 5. There was 6, but there is one on West Hardin Street near Steve's Smokehouse that has closed temporarily. I don't know if they have any plans to reopen, but so we'll call it 5 or 6 vape shops right now. They're open. None pretty much further east than these 2 right here.
So we would say that the majority of what's existing today is right here in the downtown district, or just outside of the downtown district. in
Yeah,
Old Hart.
All within an overlay district, pretty much. South Main Street is one of our main corridors, so a little further from downtown, but in a main corridor area where a lot of our commercial activity is.
So if we had to address the 1,000-foot mark, even if you was at South Main and Food Line there, to get to 54 would be more than 1,000 feet, I would presume.
Yes.
It's
yes.
more than a half mile.
Yeah, to give just kind of I was looking at it myself too. If you were to take this vape shop across the street, and go 1,000 feet down, I believe this is Pine Street right
Right.
here, you would get kind of in front of the middle school, I believe, that's down there, or Graham Middle. So you could even put one further down on Pine Street. Of course, the school thing adds into it as well, and I believe you guys have the materials, but there were other establishments listed within the 1,000 feet, including bars and childcare centers and things like that. But yeah, there's the vape shops right now. I mean, most of them are 1,000 feet from each other, except for I believe these 2 right here.
If you would, bring up a map of across the street here and put me a circle up with a 1,000-foot radius from this closest vape shop to us.
Sure. So I don't know if I can get an exact circle because I'm not on my GIS, so I don't have the public notification.
Okay,
But like I said, let's see.
that's 1,400, was it?
Yeah, 1,000 gets, well, it gets actually a little farther than I thought. So that would take you roughly to the end of East Pine Street.
Yep,
Right in here.
okay.
That's meters.
Oh, it's meters. Apologies. There we go. Maybe I was right then. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, so 1,000 feet, about halfway to the middle, halfway through that middle school lot.
Okay, so if we kind of rotated that round in a circle to meet the criteria there, we know that we have another in the parking lot here, but you still got a pretty good selection outside of it. There's plenty of room outside there to locate another vape store, is what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, and then, like I said, the other 2 that we were talking about are actually south of the interstate, so
Right.
they way
At
further.
Food Line. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And then the one on West Hardin Street, right beside Steve's there, right at Steve's,
I believe it's
that would still be outside of that 1,000-foot perimeter too.
305. Yeah, that would be this one right here, and yeah, that's
Right,
well outside that as well. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Oh, yeah. So that's 1,000 feet there and they won't even get over. So the 1,000-foot radius don't really restrict it that much, but then when you start throwing in the fact of daycares, schools, puts a little bit more restriction upon it. But there's still plenty of room in the city to, with a special use permit, if this was to pass, that could allow for another vape shop. Except for the 10,000 population.
Yes, I think if there is some kind of population, the per capita thing that was going to be explored, I think 10,000 would be a very high number for that restriction. I think it would need to come down significantly, but that's up to you guys. I was just letting you guys know that as it sits right now, Graham would have the capacity for 2 vape shops based on current population, if that, maybe less than 20,000.
What was the discussion like with staff about the population? What was y'all's opinion about that part of it?
Yeah, when I talked to Cameron about it, it was basically just that 10,000, we're aware of the Graham population hovering around 20. 10,000 would be quite restrictive. And as I mentioned in the opening, I believe what would happen is you'd have these 4 or 5 vape shops that exist, and until they decide to, close or what have you, we couldn't issue any new vape shops because they would come in front of city council and they wouldn't meet that population criteria and they would have to get denied. You'd pretty much be doing that until you have one vape shop left and then a second one could come in, do it all over again.
So what was legal's opinion about that when we start talking about potentially restricting it to that restrictive nature of 1,000? Did they have an opinion of?
I don't know that I heard from the lawyers directly on that. I don't know if Cameron heard from him either, but yeah, I hadn't heard from him on that. That would be, I mean, they'll be at the council meeting, and if there's any issue that they think would council be opening themselves up to, I'm sure it would be discussed at that time, but they'll be made aware of what's going on. And I believe they did get a copy of this, and I don't know if they raised any, red flags or alarms just yet. To my knowledge, I didn't hear of anything.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bailey. Anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Hudson?
Do we have, oh, sorry, do we have any other uses in the town that are restricted by population?
No, not to my knowledge.
What about sweepstakes?
Sweepstakes gaming,
Wasn't that restricted by population at one time?
there is a use for it in the development ordinance. Let me see if there, I can search it out.
That was also a special use
There you
permit.
go, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, No, it does look like it has some of the uh, dimensions, the 1,000 feet restrictions, but I do not see anything here that says, at least in the current form of the ordinance, that says that we have a population cap for sweepstakes gaming.
Okay.
It may have been like that at one time, I'm not aware, but at least currently it's not.
Thank you.
In the definition of the vape shop versus the selling of cigarettes and cigars and vaporizers at a convenience store, do we address that in the definitions anywhere? Is there a majority or a primary?
Yeah, so at the bottom of the sheet where it says designation, there is kind of a, under where it kind of lays out the special use, there is a section talking about, store use of 10,000 square feet of floor area or more. These standards should be applied to any retail use engaged in the sale of tobacco, but grocery stores are kind of exempt from that. So a grocery store would never have to jump through all these hoops, and they could still have almost like a feature of their business would be, having a section that has cigarettes and other tobacco products on hand. The other part of it was that anything less than 10,000 square feet, let's see. Yeah, 500 square feet or 5% of a establishment's floor area that is dedicated to selling these products would then be held to these standards. So I think a convenience store may not meet that, and they would be kind of put in with the exemption that a grocery store gets just based on the floor area, but that was my understanding of it. But there is something they're addressing stores that do sell them, not as like their main thing, but as an accessory thing almost.
Excuse me.
That's difficult to consider. A lot of the displays and showcases and wall displays, we're speaking in terms of square feet of wall space, not necessarily floor area. You would have a very difficult time establishing a floor area when the majority of marketing or display or even stock, overstock is primarily vertical in most of my experience. Just needs a lot of thought. I'm sorry, I hate to get down in the weeds on this, but there's a lot of, we're gonna go down the road of, constraining, restricting, then there's a lot of things that we've got to really look at specifically. On the flip side, this is my opinion, on the flip side, if it's a use that's gonna be considered as a special use in B2, it's gonna have to go through the findings of fact anyway. And the Harmony finding, when that case, in any case, is brought before, whoever's hearing the special use consideration, they're gonna have a difficult time with the two of the findings, Harmony and affecting quality, overall quality of life, for the adjoiners. So the safety in the, use designation as a special use consideration gives the town, at least the council, good opportunity to scrutinize each case without the cumbersome additions of, distance and population and floor area restrictions that may be difficult to quantify.
Mr. Benesh?
Well, a couple of things come up that, and I refer to a lot of information that I just looked up in the last few days. And one is recommendation is establish density restrictions, which the zoning laws can also limit the number of tobacco, vape, hemp retailers in a particular area, preventing them from clustering too closely together and keeping them, if you will, in incorporated areas so they don't venture outside of that particular zoning, which goes back to state versus local authority. While some states preempt local governments from regulating the sale, distribution, display, and promotion of tobacco, states generally grant local governments the authority to regulate the land use through their zoning. So that puts us in an area where we can make sure that these vape places do not cluster and stay a particular distance apart. City of Burlington right now is considering rules that would require tobacco, CBD, vape shops to be located in conditional business districts and at least 1,000 feet from schools, daycares, and other protected facilities. So I feel like we're on the right path with the verbiage that we're looking at today. I know it's going to be difficult to finalize it, but yet with the information that we have and not being too restrictive, I think that vape shops primarily should not be too close to anything, and the 1,000-foot rule seems to work very well in a lot of instances. There are a lot of states or counties, like Wake County prohibits new tobacco, vape, and hemp retailers within 1,000 feet of schools, parks, greenways, and other retailers and residents in unincorporated areas. Our language is spot on. I think we're on the right path.
Is your thought process also considering the 10,000 residents as a limitation?
That seems very workable, I believe.
Thank you. Any further?
Oh, no, I think that's.
Mr. Docker?
Yes, Evan, why, why are we making this a special use permit with all these restrictions already in the definition?
With the special use is one of the ways in which we'll enforce those restrictions within the definition. The definition, let me pull that back up. Yeah, so the definition is just laying out basically what we consider a THC, or excuse me, a tobacco, CBD, and vapor shop on that first page. And then, as you can see, when it gets added to the use table, it could be a conditional use or a special use in any of these districts, but only special use in the B2. And then this section right here with all these restrictions is what, along with the findings of fact that Mr. Huffon mentioned, this section directs council and you guys with your special use permits on if this is a feasible location for the.
Let me reword my question.
Okay.
With all of that listed,
Mhm.
why are we making it a special use permit when we don't have bars, nightclubs, and dance halls in the special use permit category? We got them in the note category. So why are we not making this a regular permit with a definition for staff to follow in the notes?
All right.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it is right now, and I think that we were directed by council to come up with this definition, so I think the thinking behind it is there's a desire to get it out of the retail use by right space and into something of its own space. And special use was the way that, I guess, council and the city can keep some kind of tabs on these stores. But as far as if you guys think it's a good idea to be, that's kind of why we're here right now. Yes, sir.
Mr. Young.
I agree with Mike. But I do think the population thing is a little far-fetched, but other than that, I don't have an issue with the distance or anything, so.
Further comments or?
Yeah, let's review just a little bit more. Evan, you'll just have to help me get through this. If we're all on the page 56 use table, we all see in front of us the tobacco, CBD, and vapor shop. The way I read this is the only way you can build one of these facilities is in a B2 or a conditional business district. It's in B2, you have to come before the city for a special use. And if it's in a conditional business district, it has to be part of the conditions, part of the conditional zoning. Those are the only two ways. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir, that'd be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way we established the land use number 3, is that consistent with other retail?
Yeah, I'll double check, but 3 is most of the time when you're going from residential to commercial spaces. 3 is one of your lighter
Okay,
ones, but I'll pull that up while you're continuing to talk, just to make sure.
okay. And did anyone else have the feeling or a difficulty I had with the 500 square feet? How do you measure that versus like if I'm a gas station owner and I want to sell cigarettes, and my building's 50 feet long and 10 feet high, and I got a wall of products like Walgreens, for instance. I mean, that's a, so we're talking about floor area,
Mhm.
which there's really no way to, there's nobody's gonna have a kiosk or a end cap occupying 500 square feet of any of this.
Mhm.
So that one's kind of benign. If we're apart on the population piece, then our enforcement is gonna be in those radiuses and diameters and adjacent uses. And I think that's the easiest one for zoning compliance to work with. It would be really difficult to send me, if I was a zoning officer, into a store and try to establish is there 501 square feet being used. And not hard to measure 1,000 feet on a map.
And just your question about the land use, that is consistent with our retail classification as of right now.
The gas station with fuel sales permitted by right in B2.
Yes, yes, sir. As long as the fuel pumps are 15 feet from property lines.
And a drugstore is allowable in all of the business districts.
The only one problem that I see with it is the population. One per every 10,000 feet or 10,000 people. I don't know if it would be better served to increase the distance from the original in the language of a half a mile at 2,640 foot radius to 3/4 of a mile or a mile radius. To still limit the number, but not close the number out of only having two, or actually no new ones would be allowed until this scaled back down till we lost several of them here. No one will be able to put nothing new in. But if we either kept the half mile radius, strike out the 10,000, or increase the half mile radius. But then you start getting into with all the other A through K, you start getting into a lot of, I don't know if you could get a 5,000 foot apart without meeting one of these others, being a church, or let me get to that list where I can see it. Being a child, a daycare might hit you, a bar might hit you. Adult business is not gonna bother you, a community youth center. Fairgrounds, nightclubs, dance halls, that's not gonna right, a park. I don't know that you could get 5,000 feet without hitting a park. Or hitting a church. Or hitting a church, either one. I think that may be extreme when you start talking about increasing that distance there. I'm just only concerned about the 10,000 population is the only thing that really.
Say workable, a workable number. For what that number would be.
Are we in agreement that the 10,000 residents is too large?
Yep. Yes,
Are we
sir.
in agreement to that?
Yes, sir. If we dropped it down to 4,000, wouldn't we still be maxed out at 5? We would still be maxed out.
It
Yep.
should be maxed out. I
mean,
think
we
that's
still
gotta
be-
go completely away.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're gonna control it, if we wanna control it, we need to control it by the distance.
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay.
But now when we start,
Except
it's only 1,500 feet from one another or a school or a daycare center. So, I mean, I think that the half mile is good, but I think we need to create more distance between the schools and daycare. So if we change that to 3,000 feet, that would still allow more to come in the city. But it would give you a 3,000 foot buffer from schools, daycares, or other tobacco shops. Which would give us some separation. They won't be on top of each other. Looking for any thoughts there?
Thousand feet.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, that gives pretty good perspective.
And all right, so that,
Be in the B2, but then
Sir.
So would
Sir,
that
the
be,
meeting's closed.
so would that be 3,000 feet between each
Between
shop?
each shop.
All right, so
Or away from the daycare. Right.
all right, let's do, can we just take a
No.
trip
Yeah.
through town for real quick? Let's put that 1,000-foot radius on River Mill and work our way back north.
But it also falls under the B2 district and the,
Industrial, I mean, not industrial,
Which we two and conditional.
conditional,
We'd be in good shape.
No,
CB. So if you looked at all the B2 there, it's gonna be,
So wipe it all. All right, so go 3,000 feet.
right.
so that would encompass all of the, B2.
The whole,
Well,
That
except for
occur-
Old 87 up there, wherever that's Hanford Road out near Hanford or,
This is the Food Line parking lot. So there is one right here, but there's also one right, hold on.
Mykonos.
Yeah.
Mykonos, right? But that would give a good separation between them.
Right here.
There you go.
So you got one there at Mykonos, you got one at Food Line parking lot. But once one of those left out, there wouldn't
then
be
you got
another
a
one back in
3,000
there.
feet.
What's the,
Yeah, once that, if that one were to leave,
Right.
put one back in.
what's that distance from River Mill to the one at Mykonos? So just north of Webster and there you go. 23, 22,
22.
and half miles coming
Yeah.
right back on top.
Yeah.
Then you
Another
get-
one at the Auto Park Plaza also.
All right, if you go to the closest corner at Graham Middle School and then pull back to the west towards us, and let's see how that.
It would eliminate all of them in the future.
That's where it is, the middle school kids,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
So
yeah.
that would eliminate all of those from downtown if they ever closed.
2,600.
That's 3,000 feet
Right.
right there
Going from here to.
from the middle school property to,
All the way to Steve's.
Oh,
that would totally eliminate that. That might be too intrusive.
if I may just offer a thought, I do think that 3,000 feet is well within y'all's right to do from each other. I do think it'd be tough to maybe find places that are 3,000 feet from all A through K. So I just wanted to clarify that. Maybe there's a different distance from one another than there is from a school or something like that. But
I don't think you can find the A through K now with 2,500 feet.
yeah,
to be honest, I don't,
Mhm.
I mean, being a church, a daycare, or
Right.
this list here,
sure. Yeah, any churches, yeah, of course.
yeah, because you got the churches right here on Elm.
Yeah.
On, Elm Street right there, the churches, and church right down here. I don't know that you could meet the 2,500 mark.
Mhm.
But I think maybe we could take the footage off of it and just strictly allow it to be special use based on conditions.
So meaning conditions as far as everything, but take out the use, the
Distance.
distance conditions surrounded by the uses?
Take out the distance and still allow the
A through
the uses here that you have listed there, but it'd be a condition on a case by case, depending on where it's located at. I mean, if there's a daycare that's 2,000 but not 2,500 feet, that may be something that council, it says is permittable in a special use. They may not say that. I don't know. If you go strictly by the footage, I don't know that you'll find a footprint in the B2 that it will ever allow for a tobacco shop. It might be one or two. If you get out towards, Flying J,
Mm-hmm.
you might, cause that's B2 there, but you got the school on you got a school on each side. But if you get your 2,500 foot in, you might could get one in there somewhere, maybe, I don't think so. You're certainly not gonna get it here downtown unless you
No.
get it north. But you got the churches all up through Main Street, so I don't know that you'll get the 2,500 foot mark either way.
And just to clarify too, that 2,500 foot number we're talking about was brought up by the police department. Our original language that was presented by staff was 1,000 feet for all these uses from, so maybe taking the footage down helps, staying with the original 1,000 feet, maybe something for you guys to consider. So I'm just throwing that out there, that the police recommended 2,500, but as you guys have kind of brought up, could be a little restrictive in a lot of these cases. And also just the, sorry, Mr. Hoffman, but I believe the reason we're putting a hard, fast number is because if it is a case-by-case thing, it may open up the door to inconsistencies in council's decision. So maybe having a number that they say, even if you're, 995 feet away, we're sorry, the number's 1,000. I think that's part of the reason that there is a number that they're trying to pin down here.
I think this radius number is out of Greensboro. What I think Greensboro's ordinance is half-mile radius.
It certainly helps the store proprietor if they come into town hall and just like with any other land development project, I don't want to spend my customer's money looking for a place or going up a dead end street. So it does help to have these dimensional guidelines as part of the land use piece that guides the potential store owner. And then with the additional layer of a special use permit required for the use in B2, I think the town's well covered.
As is, written as is?
The 2640 and the 1500, just in our little exercise, I think we've covered the entire Main Street and Hardin, Hardin Street Overlay District. We've covered all the B2 in town. We've covered the schools, the daycares.
You use a distance.
I think so, but I'm worried about that 3,000.
It's a little
Just
hard.
seems it's too, for the size of the town, it seems too big. And there's already kind of a little bit of a precedent that's manageable. The police officers know where these facilities are and where they,
A happy medium, like a 1,500.
15 is what they requested. Oh, it was 1,000.
Mhm.
No, it was 50, at least 1,500 feet from
Did I
another
miss
school, 1,500 feet from another school or
From a
daycare.
school, okay. I missed that.
You go with the 15?
I hate
Yeah,
to do
there it is, I see.
I hate to do it this way, but if you're usually walking around 4 miles an hour. I'm going a quarter mile every 15 minutes between classes. I mean, I'm just walking back and forth. I can make a run in 15 minutes. I can jog it in 15 minutes if I'm a healthy middle school kid. I mean, I'm just thinking how things are going to actually work. And, yeah, but take my bike, but the 2,600, 40 feet and the 1,500, they make sense with the scale of the size of the town and then the removal of the population, since that would be totally inconsistent with anything else we have on the books right now.
Mhm.
Special use permit requirement, it's be tough.
Mhm.
If that was my business, it'd be tough to come to Graham right now. That's with your existing
I think that's the
language.
objective, isn't it?
That's the objective.
Mhm.
Not you'd want to do away with them, it's just that you don't want to be.
You don't want them
inundated-
here, not in my
inundated
backyard.
with 'em, Yeah.
You want some control with the coming in and out.
I really want us to consider the square footage piece is really difficult to go into a gas station or a Walgreens that comes to mind because I go in there a lot. Food Line. It's difficult to quantify that 500 square feet of floor area. Not a big issue for me, but it is difficult for enforcement.
Mhm.
And we don't want to put enforcement in a position where there's any ambiguity. If I can take a tape measure and go put up 5 by 10 wall space and there's 50 square feet of display area and the limit's 50 square feet of wall display area, that's something the enforcement officer can
Mhm.
easily handle. 500 square feet on the floor, there's nowhere in town that, except at a vape shop, it's 500 square feet of of display area.
The whole
Mhm.
display area, right.
It seemed like maybe I'm missing something. I'll take all kinds of advice from you all, but I may be missing something there, but I just don't see it.
Any further discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the definitions with the following revisions. This motion would include the removal of the 1 per 10,000 population 1 per 10,000 person population restriction. This would remove the 500 square foot floor area language and would include the 1,500 linear foot separation from schools, daycares, et cetera, of that type nature, and then the 2640 or half-mile distance between similar facilities. And that we would include the use allowed in B2 by special use or in a conditional business district through conditional zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Have a motion, go here a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Workman, let's move on to the next one, 6B.
Yes, sir. And did we approve the definition as well? I didn't know if Mr. Huffine mentioned it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Mm-hmm. The definition on page 16, I believe.
Okay. Yes, sir. The next item is a rezoning for a property over on Gant Road. It is just a straightforward rezoning. Let me pull it up. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, so there is currently a 1.7 acre lot that is zoned light industrial. The applicant is requesting it be rezoned to residential general for the purpose of constructing a manufactured home on the lot, which is currently not allowed by the I-1 zoning. The property is listed on the future land use map as suburban residential with with principal uses such as single-family homes, new neighborhoods, with a range of home options, including duplexes, townhomes, and multifamily dwellings of 12 units or less. This request would be consistent with the future land use plan. And you have some material maps. There's your future land use map. And the staff recommends approval based on the 2035 Graham comprehensive plan with the future land use listed.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Open to public hearings. Anyone here that would like to speak before that? Come on up, state your name and address.
Never done this before, so you'll bear with me. Frankie King from 1658 White Skinner Road, Burlington, North Carolina.
What was your last name, sir?
King, King.
Okay.
We just, like us, basically what the language says, just trying to rezone it to put right beside mother-in-law. That's where she lives over there too, so that's basically all we're trying to do. So,
Are you gonna be the one putting the house there and gonna live?
yes,
And
me
you're
and my
gonna live-
wife, yep,
You're gonna live there?
yeah, that's my forever spot. That ain't moving nowhere.
Gotcha.
I'm not that person that puts something and turn around and sell it 2 years later.
Right.
You go look at my storage unit, you can tell.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And basically what I'm doing is right there where that triangle is,
Mhm.
I'm gonna leave that all woods. That's gonna stay nature back that way. And I just wanna clear out that little spot. It's like 90 foot from the red line to the other side of that white line with that white line is supposed to be on the opposite side of that. So it's supposed to be 90 foot right there across the front and 70 foot in the back. I come within the 30-foot road from the front of the road property line and the back of the property line and the 8 foot from the sides, cause I'm going with a 52 or a 56 footer. So everything falls in place. But I want to clean that side out, right, that little rectangle, and just leave the other part nature.
Is is that city's, water and sewer there?
Right now, I know there's city water and that sewer line, they got this main sewer line where that white spot is. That's standing right there. That's the sewer for the city.
So are you planning on connecting to the city
Yes.
sewer? Or you putting in a?
Yeah,
separate-
city water and the city sewer and all that. It already has a well on the property, so I don't know if I'm gonna use it as water in the flowers or something to that nature. Cause it used to be trailer park there or something years ago.
Right.
So everything is straightforward.
Thank you.
All right.
Any questions for Mr. King? Thank you, Mr.
All right,
King.
thank you.
Anyone else from the audience like to speak about this? If not, I'll close the public hearing and we'll have discussion. I don't see a problem at all with this. It meets the comprehensive plan.
2035.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with it.
okay.
No, sir.
Ms. Benesh,
Absolutely not.
Mr. Jones.
I mean,
All right, I'll entertain a motion. Come on with it, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we approve the rezoning as proposed, citing citing conformance with Graham's 2035 comprehensive plan, which calls for suburban residential in the area. The section 3.3.2 of focused development and section 4.3.1 for land use patterns, both being consistent with suburban residential development in that area. Furthermore, the petitioner is planning to develop his own home in similar growth pattern with his neighbors and existing uses in that area on both sides of where he proposes to locate his home.
Second.
Thank you. I hear a second by Mr. Benesh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimous. All right. Any public comment on non-agenda items from the board tonight? Anybody got any non-agenda items they want to discuss? Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just take a moment. We had talked about the Ivy Road and East Gilbreth, 29 townhomes, and I would just like to commend that group of developers for going before the Army Corps of Engineers and getting the permit process approved before they come to town council so that they know that town council has a viable project.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, you got any public comment? Okay. Any staff comments?
No, sir. Appreciate y'all coming out tonight.
If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.